Welcome. We were discussing about the other approach of strategy which are not rational. First approach is called the emergent strategy. Emergent strategy. This was developed by Henry Mintzberg, one of the pioneers of strategy in the world. Henry Mintzberg. This strategy clearly emphasizes on emergence. Emerge meaning develop from the market. So Mintzberg said, when you're developing strategy for an organization, it should emerge from the market. How do you get it done? How does it emerge? How do you know? Simple. Normally, when you're rational, the strategy comes from top to the bottom. The CEO decides on what has to be carried out. Mintzberg said, there's a problem in that. What's the problem? How on earth CEO knows what the customer wants? CEO is normally in a beautiful cabin, beautiful place. He never speaks to the customers. The CEOs never go in the bus. How do they know what the customers want? That's the problem with the rational planning model. And CEO gets information from a variety of army of people who comes in a hierarchy, gives reports based on their career progress. They give a report according to the nature of the CEO to make them happy. Most of the time, the top CEOs don't know what's happening in the bottom of the organization because they listen to the channel. And the channel tells something. Junior manager, senior manager, chief manager, it goes up. But you might not know the reality. That's why Mintzberg said, emergent should be a bottom-up approach. Bottom-up. Bottom-up meaning you should listen to the customer and understand what the customer is saying. How do you know that? So I said the top management cannot do that. Top management can't listen to the customers. They have strategic decisions. Who can understand the customers? Very simple. It's a lower level staff. I repeat, the people who can drive an organization towards emergence is a lower level staff. These are the people who clearly understand what the customers are saying. Take yourself for an example. You go to a bank. You're not happy with the queue. You're not happy with the attitude of the person. Whom do you complain? You complain to the guy there. You won't write a letter to the CEO of the top bank listed saying you're not happy. What would you do? You will never go to that place again. Simple as that. So the people at the bottom will know what the customer wants. That's what Mintzberg said. Understand the emerging trend and develop strategy. Again, there's a slight problem with that. Does that mean a BMW has to be produced according to the needs of the customer? We can't do that. Then the strategy and structure and the German heritage will be lost. That's why Mintzberg clearly said, you need to get the emergence as well as the intended strategy as a mix. Intended meaning coming from the top, the rational plan. So finally, Mintzberg said, there should be something called realized strategy. That means you need to get the ideas from the bottom. Who are the bottom? The lower level staff who speak to the customer. They understand what the customer is saying. You go to Hilton. Whom do you speak to? You speak to the CEO of Sri Lanka. You give a call to the international head of Hilton? No, never. You don't do that. You tell the waiter, what is this? I don't like it. This menu is too big. That's what you say. You won't be bothered to use your BlackBerry and send a message to the CEO. I doubt. But then, can a waiter decide on a menu? You cannot do that. Then who can do it? You have to strike a balance. So that's why Mintzberg said, don't depend on the rational planning model. Use it as a mix. Get the top management ideas. Mix it with the lower level staff. Why? They are close to the customer. Then have the realized strategy. Honda, great motorbike company. They have cars, but Honda is a motorbike, definitely. They looked at the American market. What's the opportunity in the American market at that time in the early 70s? Americans buy Harley Davidson, the big boys. Harley Davidson is a massive motorbike which has a reverse and air conditioning to drive in the summer. So they targeted that and they developed 350cc motorbikes, Honda targeting the US market. What happened? It became a clear failure. There was a beautiful plan, but the Honda motorbike could not survive in the US market. There was a problem with the clutch, there was a problem with the oil leak, and then they could not survive. They struggled heavily. The entire investment was going to waste. But then one day, there was a Honda salesman who had a scooter. They gave scooters for the salesman to go from their boarding place to the retail shop. When he was driving the scooter, he was stopped by a Sears Roebuck, a supermarket chain manager. And he asked, "Are you going to sell that scooter?" He said, "No, we are not selling scooters. We are selling the 350cc motorbike." But he said, "We like to buy this scooter for a convenience level of usage." Honda started immediately taking the order and they started shifting the scooter. And scooter sales were rising at a level, and this was taken by Harvard Business School as a case study in the MBA program called the Honda Effect, published by Richard Rumlett. So the idea is simple. You can have all the plans in the world, but if you don't understand what the customer wants, you cannot make it. But who can understand the customer? You think the CEO of the Honda company will ever understand what's happening in America and the American customer? Actually speaking, the Honda CEO never went to America. They sent middle-level managers, but even the manager could not recognize what the issue was in the market. It was the lower-level salesperson understood the concept. So that is what we mean by emergent strategy. But again, you can't give everything what the customer wants. You have to go with the corporate guideline. That's why if you look at 1940 BMW model, if you look at 1990 BMW model, if you look at 2011 BMW model, from a distance you can pick it. But they change according to the market. Their shape is fabulous, but the fundamentals remain. So Mintzberg said, strike a balance. And that is what we mean by emergence. We will discuss about the other strategies after the break. Welcome. The next strategy, which is in the other approaches, is logical incrementalism. Logical incrementalism. Logical meaning same thing. Same thing you did earlier. Logic. Same thing which made you successful. They say never change the winning formula. They say never change your fundamentals. They always say now back to basics. That means you look at the strategy which made you successful in the past, don't change it. That's what I mean by logic. Incremental meaning smaller steps. Incremental, like steps. So this strategy, it says, your strategy of an organization has to be practiced as smaller steps, starting from a known base to the top. So little by little, same thing should be continued. So logical incrementalism meaning you practice strategy, what you know, what you have done, your winning formula, slight improvement. Logical incrementalism. You can see this a lot in the Sri Lankan banking system. The four main banks, Sampath, Ceylon, HNB, and Commercial, they keep on opening branches. You see every day in a newspaper a new branch somewhere. Look at a Commercial bank, new branch, Sampath Bank, new branch, or even HNB and Ceylon. They look the same, their colors are the same, their outlook is the same, and that's the same logic. They never change the formula. You see the same logic. That's what you mean by logical incrementalism. Logical incrementalism. You practice what you used to be and what you were used to be successful. And that is the fundamental logic. But then there are two authors to this concept. First person is called Lindblom. Lindblom. He completely rejected logical incrementalism. These are two different views. I'm telling you a concept called logical incrementalism, and I'm telling you the different views. You can have your own view in the exam as long as you make an argument. Lindblom clearly rejected it. He said, logical incrementalism will never allow an organization to survive in the dynamic environment. His main examples were the general failure of the public sector in the United States. Because normally public sector follows the same thing. You will realize in any country, you have a budget. Education budget is X million, this time 10% more. Health budget, a new hospital. Same thing, because you can't change the fundamentals. So Lindblom said, this will not work because it ignores the changing market conditions. For example, the banking industry example I just quoted, what if everybody in Sri Lanka started moving towards internet banking and mobile banking? Sometimes countries such as Malaysia, 75 to 80% is mobile banking. You never go to the bank. And most of the Western countries, it's purely on the internet, all the banking transactions.